It was the kind of announcement that knocks the air out of a league. Devastating, yes, unexpected. Not entirely, given the timing, the physical toll, and the warnings that have been building for weeks. Caitlin Clark went to her social channels and made it official. She will miss the rest of the season. In a short, honest message, she put words to what every Indiana Fever fan feared. She said she had hoped to share a better update, but after hours in gym every day, rehabbing, training, trying to map a route back, she would not be returned to the court this year. Disappointed isn't a big enough word, she wrote. It wasn't grandstanding. It was a simple truth of an athlete who had given everything to get back and had to face the reality that her body wasn't ready. Clark was limited to just 13 games this season. She hasn't played since July 15th, when she suffered a right groin injury in the final minute of a win over the Connecticut Sun, right before the All-Star break. It's a blow for the Fever. It's a blow for the league. And if you follow women's basketball closely this season, you knew this story went far beyond one player's rehab timetable. It goes to the heart of where the WNBA is right now. Its growth, its strains, its responsibilities, and its choices. Candace Parker, a two-time champion and one of the most respected voices in women's basketball, didn't need a memo to know how this would land. She's been where Clark is. Hurt, frustrated, determined to return, and forced to confront the difference between what you want to do and what your body will allow. Parker didn't dance around the topic. She said Clark did the right thing by shutting it down. Coming back at the end of a long physical season, just as playoff intensity ratchets up and defensive pressure multiplies, is not the time to test a healing groin. Parker acknowledged that in her own career, she sometimes ignored warning signs and paid for it. Her advice to Clark was direct and compassionate. Make the decision that protects your future. Don't repeat my mistakes. That's not a knock on toughness. It's wisdom earned the hard way. As Parker explained, late season basketball is different. The pace is different. The rhythm is different. The physicality is different. It's not the place to reintroduce yourself to the flow after weeks of limited activity. And it's sure not the place to do it while the scouting report circles your name in red every night. The best long-term decision can feel awful in the moment. Parker knows that. Clark clearly does, too. This is where the story widens. It's not just about a superstar's health update. It's about what Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA right now, what the Indiana Fever built around, and what happens next for women's basketball news, ratings, and momentum a year that saw interest explode. The numbers tell the story as clearly as any press release. Attendance surged. TV ratings cracked through ceilings that used to feel stubborn. Social media highlight packages dominated feeds and drew new fans to the game. Jersey sales, especially those with Clark on the back, flew out of online carts. The Fever sold out arenas on the road. For large swaths of casual viewers discovering the WNBA, the gateway was simple: Caitlin Clark. There's no shame in acknowledging that. The league has always been star-driven. Diana Taurasi carried a period. Candace Parker did the heavy lifting in hers. Sue Bird's final years were a masterclass in how to lead a franchise and build a brand without breaking stride. Maya Moore reached a level of dominance that still defies proper description. But this season was different. Caitlin Clark, barely into her sophomore year, didn't just elevate the Fever. She dragged the entire WNBA into a higher orbit. That's why her absence reverberates far beyond Indianapolis. If you want a snapshot of how the Fever handled the turbulence, one line will do. The team went 8-5 with Clark on the floor, and 15-15 without her. They adjusted, found a different rhythm, and even won the Commissioner's Cup for the first time in franchise history, doing it without their biggest star. Credit to Stephanie White and the locker room. None of that happens by accident, but also underscores why protecting Clark's future mattered more than squeezing a few more weeks out of a damaged groin. Playoff basketball is a demolition derby for anyone on a timeline. Bringing a Ferrari back for that is not a smart investment. The conversation that followed Clark's announcement wasn't just about scheduling or scouting. It was about trust. Trust in the medical staff. Trust in the system. Trust in the league. Clark's social post thanked fans and teammates, the people who stood beside her every step of this grind. It didn't offer sweeping praise for officials or leadership. That may be reading too much into a short note, but if you listen closely to the broader conversation around players' safety this season, you know why some saw significance in what she did and didn't say. The officiating debate has been simmering since the spring, boiling at times. Fans and analysts pointed to sequences where Clark took clear body checks, elbows, and hard fouls that blurred the line between physical and reckless, then watched as whistles stayed quiet. Not every collision is a conspiracy. Not every missed call is malicious, but perception matters. For much of the year, a segment of the audience felt like the most remarkable player in the league wasn't getting the degree of protection star guards typically receive in other leagues. That feeling calcified with every hard hit. It didn't cause the injury on July 15th. Groins and hamstrings can betray an athlete in the most ordinary movements, but it fueled a narrative that the WNBA was asking a lot from the player who was given the most in return. It's worth pausing to say out loud what a groin injury really is. Beyond a line on an injury report, it's nagging, it's sneaky, it's the kind of strain that can feel fine for 5 days and betray you on the 6th, that can be managed at 70% in practice and rip open in game speed. No one can grind their way through it. You don't win the pain game with a groin. You either rest it or it wins. That's why Candace Parker and so many retired stars who know the trap well breathed easier when they saw Clark's decision. All of this is inside a larger reality. The WNBA is growing fast, and growth can expose the weak points faster than failure ever did. For years, the league emphasized grit, flying commercial across time zones, playing dense schedules in tight windows, doing more with less. In recent seasons, there have been real steps forward, including expanded use of charter flights and increased investment in facilities. It's also true that every big step introduces a new stress test. A surge in national exposure means more pressure on the biggest names. It means everyone watches when calls go sideways. It means every injury lands harder and pulls more eyes to the cost of climb. So what happens now? Let's talk about the question fans don't want to consider and the league can't ignore. What if Caitlin Clark decides she's done with the WNBA? Not for a week, not for a season, for good. Panic talk? Maybe. Possible? Absolutely. It wouldn't be the first time a generational athlete looked at the calculus and decided the balance sheet didn't favor the grind. Clark is not a charity project. She's a brand, a movement, and a business unto herself. She doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs her. She could sign off from a league season tomorrow and have a dozen paths open before sunset. European clubs would race to place competitive offers. International play could combine tax-advantaged compensation with lighter schedules and a fresh start. Broadcast deals are already there for the taking whenever she wants them. Endorsements aren't going anywhere. She could launch a media platform, build a foundation for the next wave of girls basketball, or take a hybrid approach that lets her control the terms of competition. That's not a threat. It's the reality of modern women's sports. Nil cracked the door. Athletes like Clark blew it off its hinges. With agency comes options. With options comes leverage. And with leverage comes a head-clearing knowledge that the institution is not the key to your future. You are. The WNBA has heard this sermon before. It has always asked a few to carry many. Sometimes it handled that bargain well. Sometimes it didn't. The league has also evolved. Charter flight expansion, upgraded training support, better marketing weeks. But fans have long memories and short patience. They watched Clark get battered in a few high-profile sequences, then watch those sequences go viral with little public explanation from the league. A generic statement about players' safety to accompany an injury announcement wasn't going to change that impression. People want to see it in how the game is managed night to night, not how the press office drafts a paragraph. To be fair, no league can protect a star from everything. Basketball is a contact sport. The shoulder-to-chest contest at the rim doesn't voluntarily disappear because a certain jersey sells out faster than others. Players know that. Clark knows it. The call here isn't for favoritism. It's for consistency, clarity, and a recognition that stars drive the business. Fair officiating is not a buzzword. It's a platform a star-driven league stands on. Consider, 2, what Candace Parker emphasized beyond the don't rush back advice. There's a difference between returning as a role player and returning as a focal point of every defensive game plan. Role players can feel their way into shape in 15-minute spurts. Franchise players have to ingest pressure and solve problems from the first possession. That's a good way to re-injure yourself if you're 85% and pretending it's 100. Parker and others urge Clark to embrace the big picture. She appears to have done so. Meanwhile, no one in the Fever locker room is rolling naked in bubble wrap. They are competitors. They've been living without Clark in the lineup long enough to build a second identity. They put their head down, defended, moved the ball, and built habits good teams rely on. That is the best gift they can give her and the best way to earn respect beyond the coasts. And without excuses. And when the star comes back, be ready to stack. What about the business side? This year's WNBA rating story wasn't a mirage. A Caitlin Clark injury update counted as breaking news because millions of people cared. Indiana Fever ticket sales surged not off nostalgia, but curiosity turned into genuine interest. That's a victory the league earned this year. The challenge is to consolidate it. Can women's basketball hold an audience when the biggest name is unavailable? Can it keep convincing casual fans that there are more stories to watch while the main storyline hits pause? If the answer is no, the calendar becomes a cliff. Television partners are not charities. Sponsors are warm, not sentimental. Attendance can slip faster than it rises. The league has to build redundancy into its relevance. More stars, more compelling games, more consistent production that keeps highlight clips circulating. Angel Reese's polarizing personality is part of that stew. So is Aya Wilson's excellence, Brianna Stewart's reliability, Sabrina Ionescu's shot-making, Aaliyah Boston's steady improvement, Nafisa Collier's two-way impact, and the veteran cool of Skylar Diggins-Smith. None of them is Caitlin Clark. That's the point. The WNBA must learn to grow because of her and alongside her, without making her health the single point of failure in a system that wants to last. There are steps the league can take right now that are not complicated. Publicly, acknowledge the physical toll and lay out officiating guidance that protects freedom of movement consistently, regardless of the zip code on the jersey. Privately, empower the independent medical decision-making you say you believe in. Players should hear directly from team doctors that no amount outside pressure will shorten their recovery. Keep pushing on the business side, not just in splash campaigns, but at the level of experience. Better game production, smarter scheduling to minimize brutal travel breaks, intentional marketing of multiple TMS so regional fan bases feel seen.